One. Welcome to another edition of the Bullheaded Podcast. I am your host, per usual, Sean Tyson, here with Zoo and P. Bush. How you guys doing?
Doing well, man. Got my fantasy drafts done, ready for
Yes,
tomorrow
sir.
and this weekend. Welcome, Chris Hansen. Welcome back.
Yeah, football is back. I still got one more draft after this podcast. I'm ready to go. It's a work league, so I'm ready to beat my bosses, man. I'm ready to beat my bosses. That's all I want to do.
Hopefully they don't hear this, Zoo.
Yes, sir. I think most people have gotten their fantasy drafts out the way, and NFL season is here. Like I said, tomorrow it will be the Bills and the Rams starting us off. I think that's one hell of a matchup for Thursday Night Football. So we're going to kind of get into our thoughts of that game, may pick a winner, what is going to be the storylines for that Week 1 Thursday night game. And Peebush, I'm going to start with you.
This is a hell of a great matchup, man. The NFL knows how to make their money. And, you got the defending champs hosting the Super Bowl favorites for this year. So I think that's probably the best that you can ask for, especially a team that is coming off a Super Bowl who pretty much maintained the same team and kind of has the same expectations, at least in their conference this year.
Yeah.
One matchup, I'm looking for, I really do want to see what Cam Akers looks like. I think that he came off that Achilles injury very quickly last year, and a lot of people have high expectations for him. Maybe just in dynasty leagues looking, a couple of years forward, but this is a big year for him to kind of earn his spot, fighting with Darrell Henderson. I know Cam's pretty much the number one back, but we know what Darrell Henderson can do with that offensive line and how good their pass offense can open up their rushing game. But a matchup that I'm also looking for is that Stephon Diggs versus Jalen Ramsey, man. I think that's always fun to watch. The Bills, I think they now have a bit more solidified number 2, Gabe Davis. I know he might be overvalued in a lot of fantasy this year, but he's a pretty legit option too. Big receiver that might be able to draw attention away, but we know Jalen Ramsey is going to be sticking to Stephon Diggs if he can. So that's a matchup I'm watching. I don't think that it'll hinder any high scoring opportunities. I think this is going to be a pretty high scoring game. I think they have the over under at about 53. So if you're a betting person, that's a tough one to call, but easily could happen. This could be a 30-plus game for each team here. But I think the Bills are going to go in, and I think they're going to beat it at SoFi, man. I think they have a great defense, man. They have the number 1 defense on points allowed per game last year, 3rd in scoring. They only added to their offense. They didn't really lose too much, adding that rookie James Cook into the backfield. Interested to see what he does. So I think the Bills will pull this one out, but I don't think you can blame the Rams for losing this game. They're still going to have a hell of a season. So this could be a future Super Bowl matchup.
Yeah, this matchup really, really intrigues me more than usual because there's a beautiful, beautiful DraftKings bet up on the table, man. Win by 7, man. If you up 7, you automatically hit the money line. So I've been contemplating this decision for a very, very long time. The Buffalo Bills are the favorites, which is surprising because they're on the road against the defending champs. They give you 3 points for home. So pretty much they're saying that on a clean field, it's a 5-point favorite. So they're pretty much saying Buffalo Bills are the better team. They are the better team. They're by far the better team, even though obviously the Rams got it done and won the championship. But the Rams, man, after that celebration of winning a championship, man, you get that little fatigue, man. You're just like, man, I'm just chilling. Got nothing else to prove. You lost Von Miller. You lost Odell. Integrating Allen Robinson. Very, very, very intrigued by Allen Robinson this year. Because this dude historically has been a really elite quarterback, even though he had Blake Bortles, the Mitchell Trubisky getting 1,000-yard seasons, had one dud of a season last year. Didn't really like the QB situation, didn't really like the management situation, didn't really like the coaching. So I give him 1 year out. He had an awful, awful year. He was probably the biggest bust in fantasy football last year. As a 3rd-round pick, I think he was an elite talent as a wide receiver. But hopefully he can get rejuvenated with little Matt Stafford, man. When this guy makes receivers look real good, man. From Marvin Jones to Kelvin Johnson to Cooper Kupp, man, to Kenny Galladay, he feeds his receivers. And as a shareholder of a lot of Allen Robinson shares, I think I have in all my teams right now this year.
Wow.
Yes, I think I have 4 leagues right now. I think Allen Robinson's all 4 leagues off the top of my head right now.
Good value pick this year.
So this guy better show up because I'm all in on this, brother. And he better show up because I'm expecting 1,100 yards and like 8 tutties, man. That's what I'm expecting from this guy. I'm expecting elite numbers, a resurgence with this offense and with this team. But, man, my money line bet, man, got to go with the Buffalo Bills, man. I think they're going to go off to a hot start, man. I feel like they always go off the hot starts when Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, man. It's Gabriel Davis. Stephon Diggs hyping him up. Gabriel Davis playing fantasy football. You got to get Gabriel Davis. We'll see if he's the real deal. This guy showed up at the playoffs, was a red zone monster. With the lack of, this dude, barely played last year. Because with the Emmanuel Sanders and we got Cole Beasley, all these receivers are out. This guy gets solidified as the number 2 option in this offense. McKenzie in the slot. So this guy's a legit wide receiver, too, that Josh Allen got. And people are saying that this guy's the real deal in this offense. They got this team winning the Super Bowl. Vegas has it. They got Josh Allen winning MVP. So pretty much everybody's saying this team's got to be elite top 1. So their offense got to be at least top 5, top 10. So looking at this offense, they're going to get it done against the Rams at SoFi Stadium, man. And hopefully they get it done. And my boy Allen Robinson shows up in the game, primetime performance. And remembering the shock in the NFL world, I'm back, baby. I'm on a team that's actually competently run. For the first time in his career. For the first time in his career, man.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So shout out to Allen Robinson. Hopefully he gets it done. But I'll be rooting for him. I'll be rooting hard for him this game.
I mean, the Bills just have such high expectations. So we'll see if they can live up to him. But I think they do have the best chance to. Most teams.
Yeah, I think the Bills. I'm probably just gonna make it a sweep. I think the Bills, and I'm kind of like with Zoo with the whole championship hangover type deal. I just think everybody's gonna be singing their praises. It's just gonna be. I don't know if they do rings like that, but it's just like the whole atmosphere is gonna be about the Rams and the Bills. Are gonna be motivated because I think after their last playoff game, that was a tough way to lose. So they're good. I feel like they're just gonna be on a whole revenge tour. But I am interested to see what the Rams, their addition of Bobby Wagner. How much more does that make their defense elite? Because then if Bobby Wagner comes in and he plays like he normally plays, which is at all-pro level, then at each phase of the defense, you have Jalen Ramsey an elite corner, you have Bobby Wagner an elite linebacker, and you have Aaron Donald doing what Aaron Donald does. And that's going to be for, maybe if I want to make a trade or maybe I don't know, I may have to look at my league if the Rams defense is on the waiver wire because it's that might be a defense that might be forcing a lot of turnovers. It might be a defense that stifles a lot of opponents. So that's going to be an interesting aspect of the Rams that I'm looking at. To your point, P-Bush, Cam Akers, I feel like he really did come back fast off that injury. So it's going to be interesting if he is truly a 3-down back or if they use, I think, Darrell Henderson on 3rd down in pass catching situations. So that's going to be an aspect that I'm looking at. But, yeah, I'm picking the Bills. Josh Allen is getting MVP odds. The Bills are getting Super Bowl love. It just feels like – and it kind of makes me a little nervous because, when everybody is on one team, it makes you feel like, are they really going to get there? But, I guess just that last, playoff game we saw with them, it just makes you feel like they're just going to take that next step. So, I just think for this game, they're definitely going to beat the Rams. I'm interested to see how they play throughout the season. So
yeah, Stephon's tired of just standing out after a playoff game and watching the other team celebrate. Man, he needs to be on the field celebrating this year
for sure. Yeah, Stephon Diggs definitely. He's going to be receiver 1. The Gabriel Davis hype. I'm not there yet. I think he's a good player, but I don't know if how a lot of people are just putting all their chips into him, but who knows? Maybe because Stephon is a true receiver 1, maybe he gets open and maybe he does make a lot of plays. Yeah. I like Isaiah McKenzie's on that team, right? Mm-hmm. He's healthy. I kind of like him a little bit more. I don't know why. I think I do, just because I just like his shiftiness. But we'll see how that plays out. But
could be a PPR guy. I don't know about red zone guy though.
Yeah, for sure.
And they're gonna run end arounds with him too. They like to do that a lot last year.
Yeah, I just think he's a little bit more versatile. But we're gonna see, like you said, Thursday night football is here. Like I said, this whole podcast is excited about it. From Thursday night to Sunday night, we're going to be transitioning into some of the Sunday games the guys got on their, I guess you could say, docket. Like you say, most of us are going to be watching a lot of games because we play fantasy football. But which games interest us the most to where if there wasn't fantasy, we would actually watch it. And Zoo, I'm going to go with you.
Oh, I'm watching because of real life and fantasy, man. This is a dual threat right here. The Vikings versus the Packers, man. I really want to see these two teams. Packers, obviously, because I'm a Packers fan. I want to see this offense under a new style of having these double-headed running backs. 1A and 1A, according to Matt LaFleur, the coach, man. This running back situation. I want to see how they use Aaron Jones. Because they might, in my mind, I think they're going to use him in the slot. They're going to use him as a wide receiver. Because Alan Lazard, I think Aaron Jones is a better receiver than Alan Lazard. I know Aaron Rodgers likes Aaron Jones more than Alan Lazard because pretty much in the playoff games, they use Aaron Jones as a receiver. So that's how I'm assuming that they're going to have to deal with Devontae Adams out as his favorite red zone target. So I'm like, man, how are they going to use Aaron Jones? And A.J. Dillon, the monster truck A.J. Dillon, man, was not able to snatch much shares of A.J. Dillon. He go a little quick now, man. Like, A.J. Dillon is rising up ADP. People are taking him the 6th, 7th round, man. I'm like, I want him a little later.
I got him in the 8th.
Yeah, got him in the 8th.
Wow.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah.
I got him in the 8th.
I'm telling you, like, a lot of people are snagging him up a little earlier because of the hype with the 1A, man. Because legit, on this offense under Aaron Rodgers, you're going to be obviously an elite offense, and they're going to be scoring touchdowns. And who's your red zone guy is going to be A.J. Dillon at the 1-yard line. So he's getting those valuable touches, and he's a decent pass catcher too, which is actually quite surprising. Didn't do that much in college, but show that he got little hands, man. So I want to see how that offense is formed under Aaron Rodgers, man, because Aaron Rodgers coming out back-to-back MVP season. People forget about that after that atrocity in the playoffs. After that atrocity, we got a little.
Yeah, it doesn't even feel like he won MVPs.
Oh,
yeah,
it doesn't. After that atrocity, man, he got one touchdown in the playoffs against the 49ers. It's embarrassing. So maybe he got another chance of redemption this year. This guy in the regular season, I don't bet against Aaron Rodgers in the regular season. This dude shows up in the regular season, man. Yeah. So he's going to get his 10, 11 wins, man. Going to have an elite offense, make the playoffs, and probably lose an NFC championship game again. And I already
the Niners.
Yeah. Oh, my Lord. Oh, man. If that happens, oh, Lord, I'm going to cry if that happens again, man. If we lose to like a second-year quarterback, my Lord, they'll be embarrassing. But I want to see that offense, and I am really, really high on the Vikings this year, man. The Vikings, I know Pat knows this, but Captain Kirk this year, man. Kirk Cousins. Captain Kirk this year. I think he's in for a big year. I think he's in for a major year with them.
5 years. It's been 5 years, man. We've been saying that every year. Maybe not us, but Vikings fans definitely.
Man, with a new head coach implement with Zimmer out and the more pass-heavy offense with Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, I think he's for a bounce-back year this year because this guy's elite in the red zone. Like, I don't know how Adam Thielen every time gets in the red zone, but he always gets tutties, man. That's what he does in the red zone. He just gets open in the red zone. So you got 2 elite receivers. You got my boy Dalvin Cook, who's pretty much on all my teams this year, man. I got in 3 leagues. A little scary, man.
Big risk.
I'm a little like his shoulder, a little scary. His knees, his ankle, the dude always misses games. The thing with Dalvin Cook, he always misses games, but when he plays, he shows up. But with that elite offense, man, I really, really want to see them match up against the Green Bay Packers because I think they have a chance of winning the division against the Green Bay. I think they're the legit threat to beat them for the division title this year. And with Captain Kirk on the way, I think this guy has a chance to throw 40 touchdowns this year. I think he has a chance to throw 40 passing touchdowns this year under this offense, a new offensive scheme. And I want to see if they could get it done on the defensive end against this Aaron Rodgers-led offense. And because the Vikings, man, they're the legit, man. I got them in making the playoffs this year. So seeing 2 elite teams in NFC, man, facing off, man, I'm real excited about this team. Because of fantasy and in real life, man. Because got a whole lot of Kirk Cousins.
This is a big game for you, man.
It is a big game. I got a whole lot of fantasy guys online. And my boy Aaron Jones. He back on my team again, Aaron Jones.
Nice. Yeah, man. I think seeing that in week 1 especially is going to set the tone for the NFC North. I mean, this is a huge game. Just to your point, Zoo. If they end up splitting, right? Is this at Minnesota? Is this first one at Minnesota or is it at Green Bay? You know?
I believe it's at Minnesota.
Yeah. I mean, because look, I think that both of the teams are obviously going to be favored at home, and I think it's going to be kind of a pick 'em at that point. Maybe 3, 4, 5.
Green Bay's only a 1.5 point favorite.
1.5 point favorite on the road. I mean, a little bit better than the Bills Rams when we were just talking about. They still think the Packers, probably just because Aaron Rodgers still pretty much owns the Vikings in his career, and they're just giving him the benefit of the doubt there. But yeah, it's a good one. I definitely want to watch it. I'll be suffering as a Bears fan knowing we'll be in 3rd or 4th there, but oh well. A game that I'm looking for, I'm going to stick with the NFC. I do think there's a couple good AFC games, but I'm going to go with the Bucs Cowboys. And actually, mainly because I want to see how both of those offensive lines are going to be shaken out. You got Tyron Smith out. The Cowboys, for some reason, man, someone always keeps bringing back Jason Peters, man. This guy's 40 years old, and he's going to be playing left tackle. I don't know how he still does it. He's probably one of the best left tackles of all time. But at 40 years old, man, he got battered up on the Bears offense last year, rightfully so. And yeah, with Tyron Smith, I think he tore his hamstring, right? Something like that. I mean, just a brutal injury. Going to be tough for him to obviously bounce back this year. But man, I'm looking also at the Bucs. Their offensive line is a little shifty, and is that going to affect Leonard Fournette? I mean, you want to talk about a guy who might be getting overvalued in fantasy this year. It is Leonard Fournette. Heavily.
I've been fading Leonard Fournette in every draft, man. I haven't touched him.
Dan,
Yeah, I
I
haven't
hate to
touched
say
him
it,
at
but
all.
I faded him last year too because I saw a little demise last year, but obviously he was still productive.
Yeah.
But yeah, with this offensive line, Brady only getting older. Look, their running game was always pretty solid, even with Brady knowing that he's going to be standing in the pocket in a passing situations. It's kind of hard for him to do rollouts, play actions, and all that stuff. But man, this team also has a hell of amount of weapons. We got Julio Jones coming in there. Definitely want to see what level he's playing at. I mean, he's kind of had some iffy quarterback talent. Obviously, Matt Ryan had some unbelievable seasons there in Atlanta, but you're talking about jumping over to playing with Tom Brady. And with Godwin still coming back, you got him and Mike Evans, big shareholder of mine this year, Mike Evans. So I'm excited to watch him play. But yeah, I'm really sticking with kind of the running game on both sides, really seeing where Zeke's at too. How
Oh
much are they
yeah.
going to be using Tony Pollard? I know it's a running joke on this podcast, but Tony Pollard's getting a lot of value picks this year as well. A lot of people foreseeing, even if he doesn't take over the number one starting job over Zeke, I still think they're going to utilize him a lot. He's always got that kick return for touchdown possibilities too, that somehow you still get points if you start him on that. But yeah, I really think that these running games, how they're affecting two possible elite passing games. I mean, Dak's the definition of a fantasy stud quarterback. He always puts up the numbers no matter how iffy that team might be. Tom Brady's kind of the same way, just had a little bit more success, I would say. So yeah, I think that just seeing how these two running games and the questions there are going to affect the overall team, because I do think both defenses are pretty solid. And I know we all agreed Micah Parsons might be the defensive player of the year this year. So the Bucs offensive line could be getting trampled in this game, but so could the Cowboys. So it's going to be one I want to watch.
For sure. I think the offensive lines of both teams is going to tell a story. Um, I probably would trust Brady just a little bit more just because he knows how to get rid of the ball. Dak likes to move around, so that might be troublesome. But I think one of the games that I've circled since he got traded, and even though it's not technically a Sunday night game, it's a Monday night game with Russell Wilson playing the Seahawks. I just want to see how Russell uses Judy and Sutton. I just want to see that. I just want to see who's he keying on, because we know Javonte and Melvin. Like, Melvin came back because he had no other offer, so Javonte is kind of basically the lead back there. But I'm very interested to see who he's going to be throwing to at tight end. How is he going to use both of those receivers? Does he, KJ Hamler's getting a little bit of love. Like, does he use him a lot more? That's one of the things I want to see how the Broncos move, because if I see that he's really pushing the ball around and spreading it around, that might make a big difference, and how comfortable he looks with the Broncos. Because no matter, how good of a quarterback he is, being in a new situation it's going to take some adjustment. So, they've had time in OTAs and in preseason camp to get their timing down, but I just want to see who he's keying on. And if it's somehow, some way as a close game, who does he trust on those last couple of drives? Is he going to be throwing to Judy in the slot? Is he going to be throwing it over the top with Court Sutton? So that's one team or one scenario that I'm looking at that's going to be interesting on Monday night. And another one is Baker. I'm a big guy on, guys that play through injury. Like, I understand that and I respect that. But it was obvious that he probably just should have sat down last year because he was, severely hurt. So, they're saying he's healthy now. And I like DJ Moore. If Christian McCaffrey somehow can play a full season, he has another weapon back there. During the preseason, he had an odd connection. I wouldn't say odd, but he had a connection with Shi Smith, who I think is going to be running around in their slot. So I want to see how Baker, because he's going to be motivated playing the Browns. We know what the Browns are. It's going to be Brissett and whatever the running backs. They're going to do what they're going to do in their defense. But I want to see how Baker comes out and responds, because it will be interesting if he comes out and plays okay. And it's like, that's just another team in the NFC South that could maybe be a thorn in the side of the Buccaneers. Because, like you say, with all those offensive line injuries, that ain't nothing you can just push around. Like, Brady is 45. One hit could really mess him up. Like you say, Leonard Fournette. I drafted with my last pick his handcuff, because I have just an inclination that he may be injured this year, and that might be a guy that could be beneficial down the road. So, it's the Bucs are, I would say, in a little bit of I guess you could say, flummox right now. They're probably still the favorite, and you always have the Saints. But, Baker, if he comes out and plays somewhat to his number one pick potential, which I don't think he can, but if he can be somewhat close to it, that can make that division very interesting. So that's a team that I'm looking at. Yeah. Those are two games that I'm definitely looking at. And I've been trying to get tickets to that, Carolina and Browns game, but it's
Picking
impossible.
both return games. I appreciate that. Russell going home and Baker going back.
Yeah.
Those are always interesting to watch. And the NFL
For
knows
sure.
it. That's why they put it in week 1.
Yeah. That's exactly why they also put Deshaun Watson coming back against the Houston Texans. How convenient was that? But I digress.
I can tell, man. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, he really
knows
does.
what he's doing.
I digress. So, like you say, we are all excited for the NFL season. But like we kind of predicted, the NBA always knows how to sneak in a little bit, a small storyline. But in this case, it's actually a huge storyline with Donovan Mitchell. It's a curveball. It was a curveball. Like, everybody had inclinations that he was going to the Knicks. And then you get the alert on the ESPN app, and it says that he's been traded to the Cavs. And I hate when it just is very vague, because then it's like, who the hell did he get traded for? So then you got to go on Twitter and search for it. But got traded to the Cavs, and being honest, it seems like a robbery. So I want to get the guys' thoughts on how this impacts the East. Utah, we know what they're trying to do. They're tanking. How does the backcourt look? How do you like the fit? Yada, yada. P-Bush, what's your thoughts?
Well, first I got to give myself a little pat on the back.
Yeah,
I called
for
this
real.
on a podcast about 6 weeks ago. It was a dark horse pick. I thought that it would be a good spot with a team that had the most assets that, because I think, Zoo, you might have mentioned this a couple weeks back as well, but the Jazz are looking to hopefully get some guys back that they might be able to eventually move, maybe towards the trade deadline. And I think a guy like Lauri Markkanen is a prime candidate for that. So, yeah, to your point, Sean, they got, Ochai Agbaji, who I think is a pretty solid young player. Shooter, athletic as well, coming out of Kansas, had a great March Madness last year. Lauri Markkanen, obviously a good spot up 4, nothing special, but look, he can get the job done. I mean, for a team that's not going to be that great, he'll space the floor. And obviously, I did like the Colin Sexton pick. I think a lot of people fell asleep on him just because of his injuries, kind of forgetting what he was able to do those first year or so in Cleveland. But, I think he ended up agreeing to re-sign for 4 years, $70 million, something like that.
Contract's not bad. I don't mind the contract.
It's a great contract for the current day NBA. That is dirt cheap. Yeah. And I think that, if they do try and go for the French kid and are able to get him, that's a solid pairing, having Colin Sexton to play there, right there with him. But looking at how this shakes up the Eastern Conference, I don't know if you can really consider this shaking up the Eastern Conference, because the Eastern Conference is already shook. It's
loaded, man.
Extremely loaded at this point. But I love that backcourt, man. You got Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell. That's disgusting. And then you got, Jared Allen down there. You got Mobley. That's another big guy that I'm sure they were very happy not to move in that trade, and instead decided to give up a bunch of unprotected first rounders and some pick swaps. So, I think that they'll probably eventually. I think it'll take a little while, just because Donovan is coming in a little late, and the Cavs had pretty damn good chemistry last year, almost like the Grizzlies a little bit. They just had a bunch of guys that fit well together, kind of one dude leading the charge at point guard, and in a conference that they have the opportunity to move up to maybe the 4th, 5th spot if they mesh well. So I don't think that it does increase their championship odds, if you want to say that. Will they actually get there? Probably not. But look, the Cavs have looked for another superstar and a little bit of help, and now you have one of the best guards in the league, an elite scorer. And now Darius can kind of take a little bit off of his shoulders, I think, and really be a true point guard that can still give you 20 to 22 a game, but add in those 8-9 assists. So I'm excited to see him play. Hate that the Bulls have to play him now more consistently, though.
Yeah. After this trade, the Cavs are better than the Chicago Bulls now.
Yep.
They are better than the Chicago Bulls on paper, and I think in real life too, because, my Lord, this team is loaded. You got Darius Garland, who is an all-star point guard. You got Donovan Mitchell, who's an all-star 2 guard. You got Jared Allen, who made an all-star as a center. And Evan Mobley is a future all-star. So legitimately, you got 4 guys that are potential all-stars that are younger than 30 years old on your roster. The only old they have is that small forward.
I think they're like, Donovan turns 26 in a couple of days. They're all under 25.
As of right now, they're all 25 or younger, which is insane.
It's ridiculous.
It is insane.
Oh, man.
Like, the amount of young talent this team got is so insane. I'm just like, my God, good. props to Kobe Altman for
Yeah.
drafting
For real.
Garland, who was not an obvious pick. Guy came off an injury, so you had to have the foresight to get that guy. Evan Mobley was pretty much guaranteed top 3, but picking those guys and obviously pulling off this move and closing a deal that the Knicks have been in discussions for since like July. So they've been discussing, and they just hopped in and got the deal done. And if you look at on paper with the players from last year, Colin Sexton was out with injury. So the dude, he wasn't even part of the team that made the playoffs. So pretty much they flipped Lauri Markkanen, the only guy on their roster, for Donovan Mitchell. So that's what happened. The picks, whatever. You got 2 pick swaps, 3
you got all these young dudes.
You got the rookie that they signed. Exactly. They're like, whatever. You got Donovan Mitchell for 3 years of basketball. 3 years. Even if you got 3 years of Donovan Mitchell, who I think is an all-star caliber player who can potentially make an all-NBA all-NBA caliber player too. Definitely all-NBA third team. Thought he could have had a chance to make it this year. So this team, they're going for it. I love it for them. And my Lord, the Knicks just pooped the bag, man. They were the favorites to get Donovan Mitchell.
I got some. I feel like I got something on that. I'm trying to understand.
Like this is just a mic drop by the Cavs, man. They got an all-star that is 26 and younger right now for Lauri Markkanen, a restricted free agent that they did not want. They did not want Colin Sexton back. They saw Darius Garland. Like, that was the biggest blessing to the Cavs season, was Sexton getting injured and seeing Darius Garland blossom into a true PG that's an all-star caliber player for the next half decade. Like, that's what they saw with that injury. So I'm looking at this roster. I'm just like, my God, they have a chance to win 50 games. They have a chance to win 50 games immediately. And pretty much they're like the Blazers with Dame and CJ in the East, except they got bigs down low. They can play defense.
Exactly.
You got Twin Towers down there. And look what happened to the Blazers. The Blazers, at their peak, made it to the Western Conference Finals. And with this team, and they keep growing, especially Evan Mobley. All these scouts are really, really high on Mobley, thinking he could be like a transcendent, like the power forward type guy with perimeter skills, like an Anthony Davis, KG, like mold skinny type guy that can play all NBA defense already in his first year. If he develops his offensive game, obviously he's going to have more space with Donovan Mitchell creating for him. Sky's the limit for this Cavs team, man. The only hole they got is Isaac Okoro, because if I'm defending this team, I'm leaving that brother wide open every single time. Man.
Yeah.
I'll leave him that brother because that guy cannot shoot threes. He cannot shoot at all. He's a liability on offense, and I'm team. I got to expose that. And that's like the one hole on their starting lineup right now, which is not that bad of a hole because he can play some defense. So the team is loaded. Props to them for getting it done. Something the Knicks that couldn't do it. So, man.
I don't understand the Jazz's perspective of, if the Knicks offered, if it's true that they offered Barrett, Mitchell Robinson, Toppin, and the picks, why do you not take that over the Cavs deal? That makes no sense to me at all.
It might be money wise because of what RJ would want.
But to me, I feel like RJ's the better player. He's the way better player. And like, if you're the Jazz, I understand you're trying to tank, but it's like, to your point, people, it's like, if they were to somehow look out and get Victor Wembanyama, I think that's how you say his name. I probably screwed it all up. But if you get him and then you got RJ as a foundational piece, like, I would love that.
Yeah.
Like, I to me, that doesn't make sense. Like, it's something behind the scenes that we don't understand. Because, like you say, if it is the money, then I guess, okay, well, then I don't have an argument. But just offer the packages, like, I like Toppin a lot. Like, those are, like, you could build, I feel like, a nice future in Utah with those guys, and Toppin, RJ Mitchell's a nice, versatile big that can move around. He's very fluid and can block shots. And like you say, the Knicks picks, like, if you get those picks, you're probably going to do well with them because the Knicks can't do anything with them. So it's like, I feel like, maybe you're just betting on which team is going to, not be as good later. But like you say, I just don't understand that. But moving on from that.
Yeah. But this is the rumor. I don't know if this is true, but do you remember the general manager of the Knicks was at the Dallas Mavericks versus Utah Jazz watching a playoff game, huh? They were scouting Jalen Brunson and Donovan Mitchell. They were scouting the potential of acquisitions of the summer, and it's rumored that Dage didn't really like that. Didn't like pretty much the tampering of tampering. That's as blatant as tampering as you can get.
Yeah.
Visiting potential assets and watching them at a playoff game and pretty much scouting them and seeing how you could make a deal to get them. Because obviously Jalen Brunson, they're already getting fined. They're going to get punished for tampering for Jalen Brunson because they got that deal done before the start of free agency. And now this Donovan Mitchell rumors have been happening all day, every day. So obviously there has been behind the scenes of that. And maybe Dan Age is like, screw you. We're going to make a deal with the Cavs. Because the deals, if you look at the deals on paper, RJ Barrett is better than Colin Sexton. I think RJ Barrett is the better asset than Colin Sexton.
Yeah.
Even if you don't like RJ Barrett, you could flip him for a lot of unprotected picks if you want to go the whole picks route and tank even more. So they could have flipped RJ Barrett for more picks. So obviously Mitchell Robinson, I think he's a terrific young big. He just had injury problems, and Obi Toppin is a great young player. So I look at the Knicks package on paper. I think he's better than the Cavs package. But I feel like something happened with Danny Ainge.
Something behind the scenes.
Something behind the scenes. Thing. Exactly. So I'm just like, man, because the three unprotected, Knicks, Cavs. I would bet against the Knicks a little more because they have a history of missing the playoffs because that Cavs young core, even if Donovan Mitchell bounces. Like you got Darius Garland, like Evan Mobley. You're gonna be at least a 500 ball club for the next couple of years, as long as they're on the roster. So betting on the Knicks would have been my bet for hopefully landing the lottery because that team just misses the playoffs. When they make the playoffs, it's a miracle. It's a miracle when they make the playoffs.
The city shuts down.
Exactly. The city shuts down, man. They go crazy. They won 45 games. They won one playoff game against the Atlanta Hawks, but then went crazy, man. So I'm betting against the Knicks franchise, even though the Cavs franchise is pretty mediocre, but they got way more talent. That's why I feel like the Cavs are like, we could go all in. Well, the Knicks probably if we had Donovan Mitchell, maybe they're asking for another unprotected pick, maybe more pick swaps that they wanted. And the Knicks are like, we're not confident if we have Donovan Mitchell and if we ship out RJ Barrett, Obi Toppin, or someone else, some of our other young players, that we're going to be even relevant. Like Donovan Mitchell with a bunch of role players, 500 ball club, maybe.
Yeah.
Especially if they ship out RJ Barrett.
They have all-stars.
Exactly. You ship out RJ Barrett, their best player, and you get Donovan Mitchell, how many games are they winning? 40, 41 games?
Yeah.
So maybe they were hesitant on that end too. With Brunson, maybe that was in their thoughts. Wow, the Cavs are just like, we're giving up none of our young core. You're going to take all our assets. This is all we have, and we're just going to give it all to you. While the Knicks have this war chest of picks and pick swaps.
Well, you know who they kind of
and Quentin Grimes rumor they don't want to give a Quentin Grimes. I'm like, man,
I do like Quentin, but I would still.
If it was Quentin Grimes or to just get one more, has to get Donovan Mitchell, I'm pulling the trigger. Yeah,
if it means I get Donovan Mitchell, I'm definitely giving up Quentin. But I do like Quentin Grimes. But apparently, who they have shifted to, as the Knicks would say, is they're now looking at Shea because he doesn't really fit with the OKC timeline, which. I wouldn't be mad at that acquisition. I mean, if we're picking between Shea and Donovan, you want Donovan. But, I mean, if you just want to save face and switch to another asset, maybe Shea is a nice building block. And I think a lot of players around the league like Shea because his game fits with a lot of people. So, like you say, if he doesn't fit with Brunson and you can flip Brunson for something, then whatever. But I feel like in that trade, they're going to have to give up a buttload of picks too. So, but just in terms of the Eastern Conference real quick, I do like their backcourt. Like you say, even if they're defensively challenged, you got basically towers in the back that's going to cover up a lot of their deficiencies at the rim. So I do like this Cavs roster. And like you say, there's really no pressure on them to win right away because they're all young. So they just got to keep building. And last year, they have a good sense of being in the play-in and figuring out how to play in that type of situation. So I just think with Donovan's, kind of a little bit of experience being in the playoffs, that will help. I don't know where it puts them at. Just like I guess you say in the tier wise, because it's like Brooklyn's such a wild card. Like I still love Milwaukee, Boston,
Philly.
But then after that, Philly very interesting because I feel like they're building a team that is similar to Houston, and they're with PJ Tucker, Montrezl Harrell, a lot of those switchable big guys that'll sacrifice for the team. They're going to be very interesting if Harden comes back in shape and wants to play how he wants, like he's playing in Brooklyn. Like before he got injured with his hamstring. But if he comes back in shape and motivated, you got him and Embiid, that's going to cause a lot of problems. So, like I say, it's not NBA season. We're definitely going to be talking about that down the road. But make sure you guys tune into the Bullheaded Podcast. NFL content's coming up. We're going to be looking at the Thursday night game, Sunday night football, Sunday afternoon football, Monday night football, all that stuff. Will be on Bullheaded_pod on Instagram, TikTok, Bullheaded864, Crunch on those on YouTube. All of the DSPs, Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts. We will be locked in and ready to go. So for me, Zoo, and P. Bush, we're out.